So fabric scraps that were all recycled. So it was a completely upcycled theatrical outfit that I sang my piece on stage in. And that was when the two worlds really clicked for me. So for me, what's next in that merging is
Like, who are some of the influences on yourself, and what kind of started you in this direction?
well, my original influence was my best friend Sid because when we were kids, um, she was really into fashion and we were best friends, and she's the founder of Pattern Nation, and we still work together all the time. She's the one who sent me the call for artists for the show and said, "Hey, you should do this." And she's kind of always there in the background, helping manage me and my art and making sure that I have all of the opportunities because she's the like brains behind the whole thing. I just get to be free and create because of her. And she also provides a lot of the materials for me. So when I made the dress out of sweatpants and hoodies, it's because Sid had a big box of old sweatpants and hoodies that didn't fit anymore or had holes in them. And she's getting donations all the time. So being in their studio at her house, which is where the Pattern Nation stuff gets made, just being around all the materials there that she collects that they got from South Africa and that is there. Like it's like a little candy store for me, and it gives me a lot of inspiration. Um, and originally, when I first started learning how to sew, um, I was reading books and I kind of taught myself. I got one book about how to make dresses. I started there, and when I lived in India, which I lived there for 5 years, I made friends with my friend called Susan. Her business name is Sustainable Suze, and she
Oh,
has a boutique in Bangalore, India, which is where I spent a lot of my free time. I would just go to the boutique and hang out with her, and we would have lunch or coffee. And she had a whole team of seamstresses who worked for her, and I would see how she sent her patterns upstairs, and then they would sew it and bring the clothes down. And she had these beautiful materials that she found from like rejects from the factories in India there. So it's a really interesting thing to learn where fabric is actually made, because here in Canada, most of our fabric is imported from other countries, but when I was learning, I was actually there where the fabric was being made. And so I was influenced by visiting the embroidery shops where they do beadwork and where they like make tassels from scratch and all of that stuff that is in India. And all of that stuff really influenced me and my designs and being able to print on fabrics in the printing factories there. Um, yeah, just taking advantage of my time there and learning so much of about textile design and stuff from just being in India, and all of the colors there were very influential. And my daughter is half Indian, so she's always getting little gifts from her grandma in India, and we still have that link to India. So I would say that that was kind of what influenced me in my formative years. Now I'm more interested in finding what's lying around because there's so much waste in in fashion that we have enough like fabric scraps from our clothing line, for example, for me to like just use fabric scraps for the next year if I wanted to. So like I'm just more interested in waste right now.
Anna, you're a very versatile artist, not only clothing, but music too. You recently released an album, which I'm going to share with everybody in a minute. The Magnetic Rapture of Men's Reimagination. You released that, I think, in March. Correct me if I'm wrong there.
It's
Um,
January 3rd.
it was January.
Yeah,
Who's
January 3rd.
okay, January 3rd.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, what's in a number? A lot is in a number. That's lovely. I love that. Um, who has been some of your musical influence? So this is a little off the fashion part, into your musical now. Who have been your influences and how do these areas of artistry resonate with each other? In other words, like your kind of your design influence as well as your music. So how do they resonate with each other? Which I think you've already kind of mentioned a little bit, or we mentioned it in the beginning. But also, in other words, what would some of the main themes that thread themselves through these areas of your creation? So, if we're not absolutely clear what I mean there, and I just need to share with everybody. Oh, it's not going to come up. Okay, I'm not going to share. I'm going to let you chat about that, and I'm going to get this up in a minute. So you go ahead. Yeah, how do they resonate, and where did this all begin?
So I've been writing music for many years since I was young, and it's always been my favorite way of expressing myself, which is another form of self-expression. I've always been a multidisciplinary artist, so I'll have waves and different times of life, maybe 6 months at a time, I'll be into a certain medium or a certain community, and then I move based on the energy that is needed. So I was always strongly, heavily influenced by Icelandic music, and by um, European music in general, and also just the fashion that goes along with big pop stars. And as a fashion designer, one of the the big dreams is that you can make a really cool, big, extravagant, colorful, interesting outfit that someone will actually wear. And usually that's a costume, um, or something that's going to be on stage in a performance or something like that. So it's always tied together when I'm designing something in the back of my mind. I'm thinking about maybe a music video that it might go in, and since I'm also a musician, I've been designing for myself. For example, recently I was in a musical that was about cats, and I designed a character around Grisabella from the musical Cats, but also very highly Icelandic inspired, and I called her Griselda instead of Grisabella. And I created um, this upcycled coat that was supposed to be mangy. So I had like all these animal pelts hanging off of me that were donated. So reclaimed animal pelts, and also fabric scraps that were all recycled. So it was a completely upcycled theatrical outfit that I sang my piece on stage in. And that was when the two worlds really clicked for me. So for me, what's next in that merging is creating characters and then costumes inspired by the recycled materials that I have available, and then writing music to express my soul, and then having the art ethically create the character around that expression. So the whole idea is that all of the energy in the physical world and in the metaphysical world and in the creative world is all being recycled and moved through energy moving through myself spiritually, and materials moving ethically through on my body and in people's eyes and stuff. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, you quite literally interwove that and resonated. I love that. That's beautiful. Yeah, and quite fascinating too. I think I remember seeing I think I remember seeing that piece at a showing somewhere. I'm gonna share with people the just that the recent release, album release. Here it is. It's
Yes.
quite, oh, it's fantastic.
And
And
that's
I
a
can,
upcycled dress by Danielle Diamond that I'm
yeah,
wearing on the album art there. That used to be a wedding dress that she upcycled using spray paints and found bedazzlements. So that's me kind of supporting her work as an upcycle designer by wearing that in the album art.
yeah. And Danielle and I have done a interview as well, on costume therapy, which she is also part of. And she does, but I'm gonna give a quick little listen. I can really hear though, that Icelandic influence. I'm just gonna stop it there. Just yeah, I mean, incredible. And I can really hear that too. It's so fascinating. I never realized that that was your influence. And I mean, if anybody's listened to Björk, which I'm sure a lot of you have, you can hear it. You
And
know,
Björk's
it's
designer Iris van Herpen, I've been to her exhibition in the Museum of Toronto, and I'm a huge fan of Iris van Herpen. Um, and that's probably my biggest fashion influence is Björk's designer Iris van Herpen. So in terms of like the mecca for Icelandic fashion, I mean that's kind of like that's my favorite.
so where do you see the future of fashion going? And what are your aspirations for yourself and the industry?
And for the future in fashion, I feel like there's going to be a lot of liberation from the idea of the dress code. I think the dress code is becoming archaic. And also, I think we're going to see how the idea of the dress code in many situations is not congruent with our ideas of decolonization. And I think self-expression is going to be seen as more of a human right and less of a disruption to productivity. So that's kind of a radical, a radical viewpoint. But I think that the way that people work is changing. The structure of the 9 to 5 job is changing. The way that we perceive uniforms and what uniforms mean and how they make us feel. And also just like um, what it means to have an elitist uh, idea that the more boring your clothing is, the more professional and like wealthy appearing you are and official and normal and good. Um, so I think all of those aspects are going to be revolutionized, especially with what's happening on social media. People are learning how to upcycle their own things, and you don't have to be a really well-known artist or designer to look fabulous anymore, and to do it sustainably. So I'm really excited for the dress code revolution.